So there's been some murmurs around the way for a while about how, social media is a real big problem and kids are getting addicted to it and there's all these psychological issues associated with it and it just has a negative effect on the population. This has been the chatter for years now, but it's really at a boiling point now. So it looks like Australia has actually done something about it. Let's watch.
Turning to Australia now, where lawmakers have now passed one of the toughest social media bans in the world, barring children under the age of 16 from joining the apps. The goal here, to address the impact social media has on kids' physical and mental health. NBC's Liz Kreutz has more.
It's passed resolved in the affirmative.
Australia taking an unprecedented step, becoming the first country in the world to ban the use of social media apps for anyone under the age of 16.
That's pretty huge.
The landmark law, which overwhelmingly passed with bipartisan support, drawing immediate reaction globally on the very apps expected to be the target of it, including TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and X.
So, by the way, I should point out, remember, Congress passed a ban of TikTok, or like forced sales or whatever, and that was going to go into effect. But remember, Trump took a lot of money from the person that owns TikTok, and he's going to reverse it. He's going to reverse it. It was supposed to go into effect in January. Trump will be in there in late January. He's just going to reverse it, right? So now, to be fair, I didn't really agree with the banning of TikTok anyway, right? I'm not in favor of banning it. But so there was, I guess, something somewhat similar here in the U.S., but that was more about China fear-mongering more than the impact on kids of social media. But anyway, I digress. Let's keep going.
Do we all agree that this is good but bad at the same time?
Under the new law, tech companies will be required to take reasonable steps to verify a user's age and prohibit those under 16 from creating accounts, or else face millions in fines.
I believe the number I read was 32 million.
I heard the cries of families who are suffering.
The controversial measure meant to help protect young people from the negative effects of social media. The American Psychological Association has warned about the addictive nature of these apps and the negative impact it can have on a child's mental health and body image. In Australia, Wayne Holdsworth says his son died by suicide after a sextortion scam.
Anyone that says this is not a good idea has not lived through my life.
But the law is facing fierce opposition, including from the big tech companies and Elon Musk, who wrote on X, seems like a backdoor way to control access to the internet by all Australians. And others, including some teens, are questioning how a law like this will be enforced.
It will only create a generation of young people who will be more technologically literate in bypassing these laws.
Our thanks to Liz Kreutz for that report.
I feel like some of the arguments about, hey, this is actually not good for kids and there are a lot of downsides and these kids get addicted and there's all these problems. I feel like some of those arguments are true. I do. I feel like, now having kids now, I can see, okay, that thing doesn't look particularly healthy. And I see some bad behavioral stuff around this and I see some addictive tendencies in some areas with the internet in general. And so, I get it. As somebody who's now a parent, I can see, you know what? We got to put some rules here. We got to put some restrictions on it, etc. But I also feel like sometimes it's a little overstated. Like, nobody will ever give you anything positive about social media. And despite all of my critiques, and I have many, it's also undeniable that you can find, if you have some weird hobby or whatever, you can find community there where perhaps you wouldn't be able to find community otherwise if you're living in some place with not that many people and you don't see that many people in person. You can find community on there. You can have easy access to information. There are definitely upsides, and nobody ever really talked about the upsides. But the more important point is this, in my opinion. Any way you would try to enforce this would be bad. So, for example, if they were to do this, let's say they do this in the U.S., you got to be over 16. It's like, okay, well then, what steps does the company have to take? The company has to what? Mandate you send them your driver's license when you turn 16, so they can say, okay, you're 16, and they'll allow you to do. It's like, nobody wants more fucking hurdles and more obnoxious shit in the way of doing what we want to do. No, fuck that. It reminds me of what they're doing with porn websites. How a bunch of states now have said, we age restrictions, therefore, if you want to jack off, you must send your ID to us. It's like, look, nobody's in favor of young kids having access to pornography, but also nobody should be in favor of the government knowing what you fucking jack off to, right? So it's called parenting. Do it, right? That's how I feel about this. It's like, all right, if you see problems with social media, you think your kid can't handle it, you think it's addictive, you think it's having negative impacts, great. Parent. Do your job. Take the phone away. Ban the app. Do whatever. But I don't know, getting the government involved just seems like too much for me. It just seems like too much. Like, I can acknowledge there are downsides to this, but I could also acknowledge some kids probably get away scot-free and there aren't that many downsides for certain kids. And other kids where there is a downside, just take it away. Just take it away. You know, hey, sorry, you can't do this yet. You got to be a little bit older. And leave it up to the individual parents to do their parenting and make their decisions. And I mean, look, you get these sorts of panics every generation. There was a panic about how horrible TV was and how horrible punk rock music was and how horrible this was and how horrible that was. And it's like, look, some of those elements might be true. Some of those arguments might make some sense at some points, but overall, the problem seems overstated. The problem does seem overstated. Nobody ever brings up the good parts of it. And then more importantly, any enforcement mechanism here is just too obnoxious and too stupid. Because, like, of all the things I want the government to be doing, it is not high on that list to make them force a social media company to take your driver's license when you hit the right age. Like, fuck out of here, bro. Fuck out of here. Like, I do hate this aspect certainly in the modern United States. It's like, if the government wants to nominally do something to improve your life, they always ban you from some shit. It's never like, bro, we really got to improve people's lives, so we're just going to give everybody health care, because the number one cause of bankruptcy in this country is medical bills. So now we have a free universal health care system. Everybody's covered. Don't worry about it. We're so concerned about the population that we're going to look out for you and give you health care. We're so concerned about the population that we're going to raise wages because you guys are struggling. It's not keeping up with inflation. It's never that. It's always like, we're so concerned for you, which is why you can't do this shit. Nobody asked you to come in here and be my fucking dad, bitch. Nobody asked you to come in here and dictate what I can do in my private life, in my personal life. I don't want that to be any of your business, right? I understand reasonable rules and regulations on social issues, but by and large, you should lean as much in favor of freedom as you possibly can. Anytime they feel like there's a problem that we need to address, it's like what we saw. Ban TikTok! Ban it! Gotta ban it! It's like, oh, thank you for really fucking looking out for everybody. We got 600,000 homeless people in the streets, but you got to make sure that, a 15-year-old can't watch a goofy dance in his bed at night on TikTok. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I don't know. This goes too far for me. This is too big government getting involved in your personal life for me. If you want to make sure your kid doesn't fuck around on social media and get their head messed up or get addicted to it or whatever, great. Do parenting. Do your fucking job. That's on you. Shouldn't... Now adults got to send in a driver's license or whatever in order to use social media. No, it's just so stupid. It's just a massive, colossal overreach. And I really hope that ideas like this don't spread. But I think they have, right? I think there might be some states in the U.S. that are already sort of doing this or are getting close to it. I told you, like, the porn thing in a lot of states now, where you must send in your driver's license to jack off. It's like, just, if the government wants to help people, I got a list of like 200 things you could do before you get to banning social media for kids, right? I got so many more things you can do before you get to that. But to them, this is lazy and this is easier, and they get to pat themselves on the back and feel good about themselves, as opposed to, like we already discussed, getting rid of homelessness, eliminating medical debt, eliminating student loan debt, giving everybody health care, or whatever. All right, guys, that's the show. Love y'all very much. Everybody, you know the drill. Please click like. Please click subscribe. Click that bell icon so you get a notification every time a video drops. You can support the show on Patreon. And much love to everybody who does. Couldn't do it without you guys. You could also sign up for Crystal, Kyle, and Friends below. That's the Substack link. All right, I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. You know the drill. Later. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.